So I am Nicolas Roope and I am from Poke, one of the co-founders, and I am here as jury foreman for digital design. There's a spread of innovation in the sense that, so in a category that we have both extremes. One is a completely new kind of thing has been constructed. So there's an entry called Box, which is about projection mapping, which we all know a lot about, but combined with robotics, so that you're able to move surfaces knowing of where the projection is and create much more sort of dynamic visual experience, both in sort of film for filmmaking, televisual stuff, video and installations.
Combining robots with projection mapping unlocks a world of interactive potential. Box is a whole new way of creating that integrates the physical with the digital.
It's a beautiful thing in its own right, but it's opening up a new set of tools to visual artists, designers, whatnot, around the world. So that's one extreme. Then we have something else, which is the world's most powerful arm, as an example, which is a lovely project. It's a petition project, so it's trying to get as many names on a petition, but rather than doing it in a kind of conventional way, they've built a robotic arm which emulates the handwriting of a boy who can actually no longer write because he suffers from a condition called D&D, which they're trying to draw attention to and get the government to fund research to solve.
Clinical trials are the only hope we have, but we need the money to fund them. Can you please help us? Signed, Jacob Lancaster.
It's not solving any individual problem. It's not innovating in the robotic side of it, or in the in any element that it's dealing with, but it's innovating in storytelling by combining a whole series of different things together in incredibly powerful ways. As is always the case with D&AD, I think the breadth and diversity of work is incredible. So we're dealing with, on one level, kind of OS 7 from Apple, and then something incredibly simple, just like a single utility application on the other. So an example of the latter is First Tracks, which is a lovely little application made by Helly Hansen, who obviously make a lot of ski wear as well as sailing wear and whatnot. And they've created an application which simply is an alarm clock, but it has a condition. So if there's fresh powder, so obviously that data exists somewhere, so if powder falls during the night while you're sleeping, it will wake you up earlier. So it'll wake you up for the first lift. If you don't get powder, you can have a little sleep in because there's no rush. It's like super razor sharp, very singular, single-minded, but genuine utility. There's some insight driving that makes it feel different and fresh and kind of magical and useful, and it really feels like it's on the side of the enthusiast. That insight is driven from someone who knows the mentality of a skier and boarder. Hands-on search is a really nice kind of connection between a bunch of different existing technologies. One, 3D printing. The second thing is blind children who obviously can't, they can't see pictures. They can obviously understand descriptions, but using 3D printing to generate things that they're interested in.
We integrated a search engine with a 3D printer. The mechanism is simple. Blind children use voice to call out the item they would like to touch. The item's data is then pulled from the database and run through the 3D printer, which then produces the object. When
you hear it, it's really obvious, but it's a really elegant solution, and it really gives 3D printing a very grounded purpose. And I think it has really broad ramifications for education in general. But we do get these great utility things coming through, and it's actually a real pleasure to have these mixed categories where you get a bit of one and a bit of the other. Something for the Dutch railway called ProRail. It gets the application off your smartphone onto the platform, and it's a screen as long as the platform. And what that screen does is it uses data of trains that are coming into the station, and it has data on how busy carriages are, where doors are going to be when it stops. So the waiting public on the platform can start to organise themselves around that due train, and obviously kind of move themselves into less populous carriages, put themselves by doors, and organise themselves. So it's just a great utility.
Het idee was een heel groot LED-scherm wat over de hele lengte van het perron loopt. waar je al 5 tot 10 minuten van tevoren exact ziet waar de trein komt te staan. Waar de ingangen zijn, hoe druk het is in de verschillende coupés. De rode kleur geeft aan dat de coupé behoorlijk vol is. Oranje iets ertussenin en groen betekent dat je vrije plekken hebt.
It's a real kind of flip from I think where we tend to go these days is into the smartphone as the solver of everything, and puts that screen into the architecture again. So actually everybody, digitally enabled or not, can access that utility. It just felt like it was a really beautiful flip. Something that I think is probably going to come through a lot this year is the magic of flying, and it really is magical. So it's, you know, it's a big poster site up on Piccadilly Circus, a digital display. It's a clear sky, and the BA 126 from Barcelona is just flying over, you know, over that location. So it's an animation of a small boy, you know, looking up wistfully at the, you know, this airline coming and pointing at, you know, pointing at the airplane. It's just magical. I mean, it's magical, poetic, and it's touching, and it's just so powerful. You know, there's been lots of contextuality in advertising, you know, digital advertising display for a while. You know, obviously getting access to data and making sense of that data is not anything new particularly, but it's just the right thing for the right situation, for the right story, for the right brand, you know. And I think I'm very happy to say that we've seen some of those examples coming through where it's just great and nobody can tear it apart, and it's not gonna sort of dilute over time. It's not, you know, when we look back at that in 10 years, not we're going to think, oh God, it was another one of those things that we saw a lot of and we all got tired of. It's just, you know, it's just perfect. There's a natural shifting of our attention to, you know, not just look upstream and say, well, what's the cool new thing that's happening right now? It's to actually look into things that are combinations of technologies or, you know, methodologies that may have been around for a long time, but are just applying that really beautifully, and that you know, in a way, the technology is not the defining aspect of it. It's more about the orchestration, the choreography of something that just makes it great, you know.